Greetings and welcome back to WebbedNostalgia, and today we are on the third part of our series named Peter Kay's Car Share, Time to Share the Ride, where we all have a look into Car Share, the brilliant BBC comedy starring Peter Kay and Sean Gibson, where we see them play two supermarket workers named John and Kayleigh, who go in and out of work together in a Fiat 500L thanks to their car share scheme. If you have not yet checked out part 1 and part 2, please do. Part 1 covers our favourite stuff from the overall show, and part 2 focuses on season 1 of the show.
In this final episode of Peter Kay's Car Share, Time to Share the Ride, we cover part 3 today, which covers seasons 2 and 3 of Car Share. If you haven't watched part 1 and 2 in these reviews, we watch the episodes and give them an overall score, but instead of it being out of 10, it will be scored out of a reference from the show, such as series 2 episode 1, there is a funny bike scene, so it would be 10 crazy cyclists on a bike out of 10, and so on and so forth. So now I've explained that, I will hand you over to Sean for his site on episode 1 of series 2.
This episode starts with John driving to work alone, while singing along to the What I Call Music 48 CD. This is all interrupted when Kayleigh rings him while she's walking to the bus stop, and he says he is missing her. While they get into the conversation they're having, she explains how she's been eating a lot recently, while he explains he actually hasn't been eating a lot lately other than his big boy breakfast, lunch and dinner. She then explains it is all due to her not being able to sleep due to her sister's thin curtains, since she can only sleep in the pitch dark. She then says other than eating, she has been watching EastEnders and a bit of YouTube, resulting in John saying that it's a load of shit, but addicting shit, so thank you for that one, John, I guess. She then says that some of the videos she has been watching on YouTube are John's duo band's music videos. Moving on in the conversation, she then says she's been getting woken up at 6 AM every morning due to her brother-in-law Steve messed around with his motorcycle. Kayleigh then asks him if he has been listening to the CD, but he then lies to her saying he hasn't had the time to, which results in her reminding him to listen to her request and the quotes to the song. Then she asks John how it was finding watching a monster truck show, which she mentioned he was watching in the season 1 episode 6. Well, it results in her saying she thinks it's about fake monsters driving in trucks, since she's never been to a show before, results in him laughing at her and explaining what it is. But then the call has to end as she gets onto the bus and he carries on listening to the CD. Then as the song Never Had a Dream Come True comes on, John starts to have a daydream of Kayleigh singing the song in a dark, distanced bus stop, until he saves it in a monster truck as a cowboy. After the daydream ends, Kayleigh then butt dials John, and he overhears her lying to a woman saying she is on John's position at work, until it then hangs up. After a few minutes later, she then rings him back to check if she rang him, and well, this just ends up in him winding her up about lying, as they go along with the joke and she ends up hanging up on him jokingly. Eventually, as John drives and stops at a traffic light, Kayleigh then rings back John to apologise, but then it is interrupted when a cyclist comes along and bashes his water bottle on top of John's car. And well, this ends up in an awkward conversation, which then results in an argument until John drives away due to honking since the light has went green. Kayleigh then rings him back and asks him if he's calmed down, and he says he is fine. The call then ends, however, due to Kayleigh's phone signal being crap, which again makes her try again, but the call just keeps failing. Eventually, when they can ring each other back, he asks how much she pays for travel, and he winds her up saying she never paid him that much when they were doing the car share scheme together. But then this results in her reminding him that she thanked him by giving him some garden centre vouchers, even though he hardly has one. But he admits he has used them to partially help create his homemade fried chips, but the call ends up failing again while he gets into talking about juicy chips. Then as she rings him again for the 8th time now, she then gets off the train and says she is lost. This then results in John giving her directions, which leads to him parked up and he offers her a lift. And as she gets into the car, he hides his CD and puts FM radio on. As they get into work, John then tells Kayleigh that he has a Christmas team meeting to get their final members, which then results in her once again begging him to put her on the team. After work, we see the rain is coming down hard, and well, when Kayleigh walks out of work, John is in his car and shouts asking if she wants a lift, then resulting in another awkward interaction with another member of staff, thinking he shouted on her, and well, he says he was speaking to Kayleigh and makes a stand back at the bus stop. Quickly after that, we find out Ray's section of work was closed due to flooding, since John mentions how much fish were in the water, and John then says it'll be raining all night, which then we see a second later the weather calmed down and became sunny, and the two start singing as usual. Then they both park up to have a coffee and a quick chat, which leads to them both being texted a link off a co-worker. And well, this turns out the cyclist from before recorded their argument through his GoPro, which makes John look like the bad guy. The video is also up to 300 views, which is sadly more than we get on our normal videos on our own channels, but that's always lovely to hear. Later we then see them carry on driving as we hear a dark shed radio ad about death, and John then carries on being angry about the video being posted, until another link is sent to them by another co-worker. This time the video is a remix of the video made by someone else to sound like the song Jump, which is a parody of the late 2000s craze of remixing viral videos. As John then gets more pissed, we then see a typical car montage, as we see in the show as usual, where we end up seeing Shane's mate's granddad, so shout out to him, and when we then see the two arrive at Kayleigh's sisters. We then see Steve, the brother-in-law, with his motorcycle, and Kayleigh warns John about him, but John gets out of the car to talk to him anyway, resulting in the two lads getting friendly over the talk of motorcycles. After that, John then gets back in his car as Kayleigh walks him out, and then she notices the CD in his door, resulting in her asking him again if he has listened to it, which results in him digging in, saying he has listened to it and asking her if he can give her lifts to work again, and well, she accepts, ending with John driving away with a big smile on his face. Overall, I think this is a really entertaining way of starting a new season of a show, with making a cute and funny way showing how the two will be driving in and out of work again. So overall, I'll give this episode 10 out of 10, now that's what I call Music 48 CDs.
And I would rate it 10 Jump by the Pointer Sister parodies out of 10. Episode 2 starts off with us seeing John dressed as Harry Potter as he goes to pick up Kayleigh, listening to Touch Myself by the Davinials. We then see him tinker along with Steve's bike as many Harry Potter references are referenced. We then see Kayleigh dressed as Hagrid, to which he takes a photo with her. It's then revealed that John and Kayleigh are going to a fancy dress party or a Halloween party. Kayleigh then reveals she has never seen Harry Potter and that she doesn't know who her character is. She also says she calls her breasts Cagney and Lacey, to which John seems confused. We hear the best part of the episode, both of them reacting to the crazy frog, or should I say the crazy frunk. Yeah, Sean, I'm not going to let that joke die down just yet, after using it on TikTok.
What's going on? Ding ding, this is the crazy frog.
John and Kayleigh talk about the supernatural after John says he doesn't believe in it. Kayleigh shrugs it off. Later on in the night, we see a homage to Season 1, Episode 2, and some real-life dogging on the Fiat 500. After this, we are introduced to a very drunk smurf named Elsie, the person we hear about all the time in Season 1 as a troublemaker in the store. John is forced by a drunk Kayleigh to give her a ride. Later on, after this, we cut to a drunk Elsie and Kayleigh singing. John knocks it off as he is pissed off as it's annoying. He then turns the radio back on, to which Elsie hurts his ears beyond repair by singing Wuthering Heights to Kate Bush, but very awfully. John then gets accused of feeling Elsie up, all while she tries to light a cigarette in the car, which John says no, and then Kayleigh says he's an anti-smoker, to which Elsie misinterprets it and thinks his auntie is actually a smoker and works at the not-so-budget, kind of B-Tech, not-so-budget Tesco, and is a smoker. Later on, we hear about the different things that happen in the store as a bit of gossip is rumoured. One bit of gossip that's actually rumoured is that John and Kayleigh are going out or have a thing together, and Elsie actually suggests this, which obviously John protects and says, well, it isn't true. And then John says that Elsie is chatting shit. They talk more and John gets embarrassed. Then John says that that's why she's on her third written warning for gossiping all the time around the store. Then we see Elsie pissing out the car. After this, Kayleigh has another daydream as she sings Crazy For You by Madonna, having a lot more meaning, showing John sacrificing himself for Kayleigh. After this, we see an annoyed John trying to find Elsie's house. Then she tells him to drive on, and then John says, through what, the pub? Which is clearly in front of them. Elsie then says that he has taken a wrong turn. After this, we see John dropping Elsie off at her door. Then it's revealed that John actually got a pot noodle off Elsie, and she tried to run him a bath, to which they then drive off. After this, we see a moment between John and Kayleigh, and they nearly kiss. And Elsie messes up the moment, to which then the episode stops as an annoyed John who's 3 hours from work and has to deliver her a nailer, and supposedly fuck her. The episode then ends. So overall, this episode was pretty good and gave us an exclusive episode set at nighttime. And we finally met Elsie and nearly saw a kiss between the already blossoming, crush-inducing friendship between John and Kayleigh. So overall I would rate this episode 10 pot noodles out of 10.
And I will overall give this one a 8.5 out of 10 drunk smurfettes. Episode 3 then starts with John on the phone to Jim, who is the co-band member, talking to him about a future gig and organising lifts for him. Jim then asks if his bird will be appearing, winding John up about Kayleigh, and he also asks him if she is fit. Jim then jokingly hangs up on the phone and John arrives to Kayleigh's sisters, which then results in him talking to Steve about a motorcycle overheating. Then when she comes out and they get back into the car, she accidentally sits on pink sunglasses, which are apparently John's nieces that she used for a talent show the previous night. As they drive, Kayleigh says she wants to have a day off, resulting in John joking saying she always wants one. And he then says he only needs to deliver paperwork to Wigan on that day, and when she asks why he doesn't just mail it, he explains his mate started working there in the same position as him recently, so they're going to have a full English together. This then results in Kayleigh trying to persuade John for them to do the following: her to phone in sick, him to see his mate, and then they can bunk off. She then brings up John's new juicer he mentions and says their life is like the juicer, which is a serious metaphor to John. After a bit more driving, she then phones in sick to work, then winds her up as if she's an evil supervillain, since he's feeling guilty like a little kid. However, he then turns to her saying he needs air in his tyres, with a smirk implying he will do it. Then when we see them in the petrol station, John pumps up his tyres as Kayleigh walks out of the store with casual clothes on and carrying a plastic bag. He is then shocked when he looks at her and she explains she got changed in the toilet, that she has a bag of snacks from the store as they get into the car, and he says he has been played all along. He then asks where he would like to go from 2-for-1 vouchers she has gotten from eating at night, which he mentioned in the season's first episode. They both then arrive at the Wigan store, and then we see his mate standing outside talking to staff, so John tells Kayleigh to duck. He then walks out to speak to his mate, and well, he just gets wound up again about Kayleigh, since his mate has overheard about their relationship from other members of staff from John's branch. Then when they go inside to get some food, John then has to get the paperwork from the car. After time passes, John then comes back to the car, but Kayleigh's no longer there, resulting in him ringing her, and she answers while walking back around the corner, explaining she needed to go to the toilet, while he acts like a guilty kid again. Then as they drive again, she asks John what was the last reckless thing he has ever done, and this makes him result in the answer saying he is a musician and that is always reckless, to then him sadly resulting in him saying that things aren't looking good for the duo band's gigs. She then moves on the conversation to ask him if he wants to play a car game, with him then saying he doesn't know any due to him not growing up with a car when he was younger. I mean, he could have played them on buses, but hey ho, who knows. The two then arrive at a car drive zoo, and she says she hasn't been there since she was younger, and then she gets out to pay to get in, as John puts on a black hat. Then as she gets back in, she jokes, saying that he looks even more suspicious than he already feels. As they drive in, she goes through all the classic British kiddie travel snacks she has, and then chooses the classic Pom Bear crisp, which then reminds me, Alexa, add them to my shopping list. Oh wait, this is just a YouTube video, my bad. We then see them looking at different animals, resulting in Kayleigh trying to feed a zebra a revel, then briefly talking about Steve Irwin's bit and how he would have thought he would have died. Jesus, that's a bit dark, but it's a Peter Kay comedy, so let's just move on a little. And we finally have the monkeys, who then start to jump on the car and even fight, resulting in the two being shocked. Oh, and a monkey also gets that part of the male area out. Yes, YouTube, I'm being good this time. And Kayleigh then takes a picture of it. Then after their visit, they park up at a beach, and then John remembers going there with his late dad when he was younger. And he then tells her he has something serious to ask her, and she gets a bit too excited. He then asks her to be on his Christmas team, but then she seems kind of disappointed as she accepts, showing that she expected him to ask her out. But as soon as John notices urine going down his front window, he then gets out of the car and notices an angry monkey is on the roof, resulting in Kayleigh getting out as he gets overprotective, and she also offers it a curly-whirly as he shouts. We then cut to them being in the car all messed up and scratched, as we see the monkey buckled in at the back, and as they drive into the zoo it is closed, with John having no internet, and luckily they find a number on the receipt, but the number goes to voicemail. They then debate on who to call, resulting in Kayleigh ringing the police. After she calls, John then starts to drive in circles trying to get the monkey to sleep, but it goes terribly wrong as per usual. The monkey briefly has his niece's glasses on, and also as they start to turn up a bit of Shakira My Hips Don't Lie, it decides to pee everywhere, which results in him getting even more angry as usual. Then finally, to cut until later, we see John get back in the car after he talks to police and staff. He then claims it happens twice a week apparently. Finally, we have her wonder if the animal will miss her. Then we beautifully have it cut to the monkey giving them the middle finger. This honestly is my favourite episode out of the whole series, so I will give it 10 out of 10 2-for-1 vouchers.
And I would give it 10 monkeys sticking up their middle fingers out of 10. Episode 4 starts off with John on his drive to work, all whilst a pretty sick and depraved joke playing about death on the radio as his grandmother is in the car, with the advertisement describing it as a photo in a frame and a slogan of Arthur Whelan for when tomorrow doesn't come. After this, we see John leave his grandma at the house as he's waiting for a parcel. He essentially has to leave her in all day so that it comes in. He thinks it's going to arrive in the evening, however it doesn't. It actually arrives a minute after he leaves, leaving his nan in the house all day. After this, we see that Kayleigh is actually locked out of her house. It's revealed that Steve can't help because he doesn't have a mobile phone. Classic Steve. As they go over the solutions on how to open the door, resulting in them having to phone a locksmith to clean out the guttering. Open the door. John then tries to get Kayleigh out through the window, all whilst a woman walks past, and then John fails and falls on the ground, whilst saying the phrase, "fuck a duck." After this, they call a locksmith, and John offers to pay for it. As a thanks, Kayleigh makes him a cuppa full of sugar. John flips, and then she makes him a bacon sarnie for consolidation. Then it's revealed that Kayleigh left the old key under a plant pot. John gets pissed off with it, and then after this, we see a Muslim traffic warden dressed in a visor burqa. We then hear a full conversation about video shops such as Blockbuster and other such stores. Kayleigh then reveals Dirty Dancing is her favourite movie, and they then talk about the full plot. After this, we get a really brilliant moment between Kayleigh and John as they sing Red Light Spells Danger by Billy Ocean. Forever FM then cuts it off, and it pisses John off as they cut the song. And Kayleigh then finally has to say that she has feelings for John, and asks about whether John has the same feelings as her. John just shrugs it off as another thing, or so we think. Kayleigh gets pissed off and says that she's had enough and that she loves him, and that basically if he wants to just be friends, she doesn't really want anything to do with him anymore. She walks out the car as the song starts to play, as John requests a song from Dirty Dancing. And essentially, it doesn't work that way because Forever FM, as we both know, doesn't fucking care about anyone. So, essentially, they put on the wrong song and suggest with the whole thing of where nobody puts baby in the corner, well, the guy shrugs it off and basically says that it's a pathetic attempt at love. To which he then says, well, I'm not going to play that song, but I'm going to play Kayleigh-Marrilion. And it plays as a montage happens, all with a lovesick John walking across cars. And finally, he says he loves her, but buddy, for him, it's revealed it was a daydream sequence, similar to something that Kayleigh had. And Kayleigh went off, and she was not seen again. Or so we think. So overall, this episode was one that pissed many, many people off. And it was one that car share fans hated. This episode was terrible in terms of writing according to what it said. So, within a year later, it was revealed that car share would get 2 new episodes, classed as Series 3 on the UK box sets. But before we cover them, I would like to rate this episode 10 Kayleighs living with John and potentially wrecking his life out of 10.
And I will give this episode 9 out of 10 altered box sets. Now, that is actually the end of the original run of Car Share Season 2, but we want to go over 2 more episodes which ran separately in the year 2018. And while people count these episodes as being a part of Season 2, with even BBC iPlayer now counting the episodes being in that season. But we would like to dub them as Season 3 episodes, since they are quite different compared to Season's 2 episodes to us, with one being an unscripted episode and the other being a closed off episode of the last episode in the original run of Season 2 due to the complaints of the episode, until, well, the audio special comes out. And, well, we'll get into that on a different day. The unscripted episode starts with them both being in the car, which is very odd for the show, and when it starts with Kayleigh saying she doesn't like the song that's on, but John already knew she was going to say that and they both laugh. Then after this, a fast ad comes on. They both work out what it actually stands for, but it doesn't get resolved due to John's signal being crap on his phone. Then when the FM radio presenter asks what food people haven't had in a while, but want to have, John then answers with a chicken Kiev and an egg, which then results in a discussion about food families as Kayleigh calls it, and then it finally results in them talking about France. John then explains about his old school trip there, where they went onto a beach, where his teacher got stung in the male genitals by a jellyfish, and they had to go to hospital. This then makes Kayleigh talk about the show Friends, since there's a joke about jellyfish in that show, and John then says he's never watched it, which, to be honest to you, John, I don't blame you. He then jokes saying that people who watch Friends probably don't have them. Then a Ken's Butcher's ad comes on, referring to the bus banner joke from season 1, and them two joke about him being creepy with his meat. This then results in them talking about slow cookers, and while John finds them useless while Kayleigh finds them great, creating a mini discussion, and well, I agree with John on this one as well. This then makes her mention she has a drawer of food at her sister's, and she mentions salads, making John mention the BLT sandwiches. And well, then this makes Kayleigh stupidly ask what the U in a club sandwich means, and calls the name stupid after John laughs at her. The song Toy Soldiers then come on, making Kayleigh say she can sing the song better, which makes John force her to sing it, and well, she gets one of the lyrics wrong, making them both laugh. Then this happens as well with the next song that plays, with them both start to sing the song in silly voices to it. Later, they then see a car accident, and this makes them look away. And then the radio plays about being happy, and Kayleigh says that she is always a happy person, while they both agree John isn't. She then asks him why he isn't happy all the time, and he then talks about the movie A Christmas Carol and explains he wishes there was a sequel, where Scrooge gets angry again, making her say he doesn't understand the character's lesson. Then they both talk about how the song he sang named Loco and Acapello has quite a dark past and meaning to it. Then a really complicated story gets told on a sad story segment on the radio, and this talks about a rushed relationship turned into a new marriage and involving cross-dressers as well. This then makes John say it's bullshit, saying builders would have sent it in as a joke. Then another Ken ad plays, with them both resulting in making similar comments. Then Kayleigh dares John to be nice to other people, but then that doesn't last even longer than a second, when he starts making fun of people on the radio. As time passes, Kayleigh admits she has never seen a James Bond movie in her life, which is a very big crime, making John disgusted. Then he admits he has not watched Top Gun, which is another big crime, making her disgusted. Then as more time passes, Kayleigh then talks about her first ex named Danny from when she was 13, and turns out he is now in jail for stabbing a guy in a different country. John then ends up calling her frigid, as she admits she only held hands with him, and while he explains he went the full way when he was 13, even saying he did it in a skip at that age. It then results in John saying he's not that interested in the relationship still, but he still has the urge to do that type of stuff at times. And Kayleigh's disgusted and says she just wants to cuddle a man while having a takeaway, which then results in her saying that they should have a takeaway sometime at his house, ending the episode with them both agreeing to. To be honest, for this being an improv type episode, I honestly think this was fairly entertaining, and I would give it 9.5 out of 10 Butcher's radio ads.
And I would give it 10 takeaways out of 10. Final starts after John and Kayleigh's argument after she walked out of his life or his car, and after this John has to travel to Kayleigh's, to where he gives Sean's favourite character Steve a parcel for her. Steve says that she was in a bad mood and hopes it will make her feel better, as she was in a right mood last night. Then we cut to later in the day as we see John in traffic checking his phone for a message, as we see he's been trying to get in touch with Kayleigh after he didn't realise her true feelings. She later opens the package on the bus and listens to it. It's a song named Car Share Buddy with a Take That spin, as it's written by Take That. We get an imagination sequence, but for the very first time in the series we get a sequence with John explaining his feelings to a song in a dream sequence. Kayleigh then texts him saying that she listened to the song and that she loved it. John then pays homage to Series 2 Episode 1 by picking Kayleigh up again. This time she knows that he is actually there to pick her up, as they message each other so that he can arrange it. She describes it as deja vu as she enters the car. She then says that she finds it impressive and that the song was the nicest thing she's ever received, and that it's as good as any Gary Barlow. They then arrive at work, however Ted 2 no longer works there as he is at university. And Ted 3 is disgusting and gives John and Kayleigh both looks, seeing that he is actually interested in both of them, a first for the series. John then apologises to Kayleigh and they talk about the song and talk about commitments of a relationship, and a reference to the piss bottle in and a reference to the piss bottle is referenced from episode 1 of season 1. Then they finally admit that they want to try dating, and then Kayleigh admits that she's shit on her own doorstep. Later on they get invited to a wedding and say they could spend time together in a hotel room because of it. Then they go through the card as Kayleigh exposes it. Then she says she's got a deposit on a wedding dress, freaking John out. Shortly after this, it's revealed that the price was left on the cards on the back, and that the song that was actually inside of the card is actually Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball, as it's quoted and used. And then there is a horrible way for the woman to confess her theory, and it's a poem about money and being greedy. It is uttered so the couple can get better presents. Later on, references to Stingray is referenced, and then Kayleigh suggests the compendium should play at the wedding, and John says no as he wants to enjoy himself. After this, Kayleigh offers to pay for a treat for John and her. They then look for money and find out that they can't pay, so they look for 1 5 pence. They find 3 2p's, but unfortunately John drops one under the car, dropping it, and when he drops it the cars start beeping as John tells them to fuck off. He has to pay on his card. He then has to pay on his card, something that he was avoiding to do. Later on, Kayleigh goes into the road to save a hedgehog and she causes a car crash, and then John opens his door, and then it knocks itself off the hinges when a car in a truck knocks it off, which he then says, "Did you get his reg?" The episode then ends with John and Kayleigh having to get on the bus, and we end the series with them listening to Car Share Buddy as they hold hands. The episode ends with this song and leaves us wondering what will happen next. So overall, I would rate the final episode of Car Share 10 Car Share Buddy songs out of 10.
And I will give this episode 10 out of 10 saved hedgehogs.
And with that, the end comes and our overall opinion on the show, so I will hand it over to Sean for his final thoughts.
Just before I get into my final thoughts, Peter Kay is honestly one of my favourite comedians in Britain, and I'm a fan of his previous shows before this, from Phoenix Nights to Max and Paddy. Well, overall the show is a great modernised version of Kay's type of shows, bringing brilliant comedy and wit while also developing a great arc of 2 co-workers becoming a couple from our main stars. This show is so well fleshed out to me, and we hope you guys check out again, or if you haven't watched it yet, finally please do check it out.
So overall my thoughts on the series is that it is excellent and a true modern masterpiece. Peter Kay and Sean Gibson are amazing in this series, and I honestly hope they bring it back for more episodes, as it deserves more series. So I recommend you check out the series as it's excellent, and once again, thank you to the Peter Kay Appreciation Group for helping us to promote and show the videos of WebbedNostalgia. And the reception to it was absolutely amazing. It gained more views than the first one, peaking at nearly 100 views, which is an achievement and a first for WebbedNostalgia. So thank you for that.
If you guys enjoyed watching us talk about Car Share, and while you also have seen us talk about Drake and Josh and the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, we'll be covering one of my personal favourite shows from the late 2000s to the early 2010s, which is Skin UK, and well, we will mention that horrific US show briefly in these episodes.
So until then, I've been Gokuja and he's been another Geek123. We once again thank you for watching and reliving the nostalgia, and we will see you all later, and peace. God, these fucking scripts are getting harder.